Welcome back, fight fans, and hold on to your seats. Arguably the biggest fight of 2025 might already be in the works, and the year has barely begun. Saul Canelo Alvarez, the king of the super middleweight division, is reportedly closing in on a showdown with the undefeated four-division champion Terence "Bud" Crawford. Yes, you heard correctly. Two of boxing's most decorated stars could finally collide, and it's a matchup destined to leave an indelible mark on the sport's history if it indeed comes to fruition. While this fight has been a fantasy for some time now, the wheels began turning in earnest last year. After Crawford moved up to junior middleweight, 154 pounds, and defeated Israel Madrimov to claim the WBA title, he inched closer to Alvarez's super middleweight, 168 pounds territory. At first, Canelo wasn't particularly enthusiastic, dismissing the fight as a mismatch due to Crawford's smaller frame and claiming a victory wouldn't enhance his legacy. But Crawford wasn't backing down, even hinting at retirement if he couldn't secure the fight. Enter Turki Al-Sheikh, the mastermind behind Saudi Arabia's Riyadh season and one of boxing's most influential power brokers. With a track record of hosting blockbuster bouts and a wallet deep enough to make anything possible, Al-Sheikh has made his mission to bring Canelo and Crawford together in the ring. In recent weeks, his efforts appear to be paying off. Crawford set social media ablaze by posting on X, formerly Twitter, "I'm going to shock the world." Meanwhile, Canelo has softened his stance, telling reporters anything is possible. Though no contract has been signed yet, rumors suggest the fight may take place in September at Las Vegas, with both fighters potentially taking tune-ups in May 2025. Crawford seems eager to jump straight into the mega fight, while Alvarez is considering a Cinco de Mayo clash with IBF super middleweight champ William Skull to reclaim his undisputed title, a move that could add even more prestige to the Crawford matchup. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the weight. Crawford recently moved up to 154 pounds, but a fight with Canelo would require him to jump 2 divisions to 168. Canelo, unsurprisingly, has no intention of meeting Crawford at a catch weight, putting the pressure squarely on Crawford to bulk up. This won't be the only challenge for the Nebraska native. Now, at 37 years old and coming off nearly a year of inactivity, Crawford will not face only a heavier opponent but also the physical toll of age. Despite these hurdles, Crawford is laser-focused on this fight. A win over Canelo would cement his legacy as one of the greatest boxers of all time, and there's speculation that this could be his swan song. For Canelo, who boasts a record of 62-2, with 39 knockouts, this fight offers another opportunity to solidify his dominance at 168 pounds. Yet Crawford, unbeaten at 41-0 with 31 knockouts, remains a dangerous underdog with the skills to not only challenge Canelo, but potentially upset him. Adding fuel to the fire, Teofimo Lopez, now part of Canelo's training camp, has weighed in on the potential matchup. Having pursued his own fight with Crawford in the past, Lopez is in a unique position to evaluate the bout. While Lopez's comments have added to the hype, they underscore the undeniable allure of this clash between two pound-for-pound elites. And how would the fight play out? Although I think Crawford could surprise people by outboxing Canelo in spurts and looking good in a couple of rounds, the reality is he doesn't have the durability or raw power to secure a win in a higher weight class, at least not without gaining Canelo's respect early on in the fight. Canelo's power advantage would be the defining factor here, and his ability to land straight punches would eventually lead to a KO. His entire style thrives on explosiveness and brute strength. Seriously, trying to deal with a guy who's 5'8" but built like a tank at 168 pounds is way tougher than it sounds. While both fighters might walk around at similar weights, Canelo's frame and build are designed for punishment. Plus, let's not forget that Canelo is an absolute master at dealing with southpaws, which is a fact that often flies under the radar. What about Crawford KOing Canelo? While highly unlikely, anything can happen in the sport of boxing. Just look at the upset of Jaime Munguia and Bruno Suarez at the end of 2024. While Canelo is a completely different fighter than Munguia, to put this simply. This is a grown man's sport, and you can't afford to get hit flush by another grown man. Crawford's game is all about timing and counterpunching, but Canelo's defensive skills are some of the best in the sport, not to mention his all-time great chin. Since his wars with GGG, Canelo has barely been touched cleanly by a big punch thanks to his impeccable rolling and slipping. Now, It wouldn't be a one-sided beatdown like some people think. Crawford is no small welterweight, and his skill level alone would prevent him from getting steamrolled. He'd probably even have some moments, like how Khan had his flashes of success before reality set in. But without enough power to keep Canelo honest, Crawford would struggle to impose himself. Spence, on the other hand, was clearly out of his depth against Crawford, something that was evident if you really dissected their prior performances. Crawford always shows up as unexpected, but the tragedy of his career is how underutilized his prime has been. If he had been more active instead of fighting once a year, we might have been talking about Crawford versus Canelo as a pound-for-pound showdown years ago. But instead, he's reaching his late 30s before finally getting the big fights his talent deserves. Canelo's kryptonite has always been a sharp, consistent jab that he just can't bulldoze through. Bivol proved this at a higher weight class, where his jab was strong enough and fast enough to disrupt Canelo's rhythm entirely. Now, Crawford demonstrated against Spence that he has an exceptional jab. He's precise, strong, and knows how to use it to control the fight. While he'd be moving up in weight, his speed could match Bivol's jab speed, especially considering Crawford's incredible timing and reach. Speaking of which, Crawford would bring a reach advantage into this matchup, and if he can weaponize his jab the way Bivol did, he could give Canelo plenty of trouble. But here's the catch. Crawford would need to endure Canelo's body shots. Those punches are no joke, especially coming from a guy who's been mauling fighters at higher weight classes for years. If Crawford can take that punishment, his superior boxing IQ and reach would give him a legitimate shot at victory. That said, comparing Bivol to Crawford isn't entirely fair. Bivol's faster than Crawford, no matter the weight class. Plus, their styles are wildly different. Bivol is a disciplined technician who focuses on range and output, while Crawford is a dynamic switch hitter who thrives on adaptability and aggression. Breaking it down, offense. Advantage Canelo. He's relentless, versatile, and unafraid to mix it up with anyone. Defense. Advantage Canelo. His head movement is elite, and he has a knack for reading opponents. Even when hit, he mitigates damage by rolling with punches. Power, advantage, Canelo. Both hit like trucks. But Canelo's the naturally bigger man and has been operating at this weight for years. Speed, advantage, Crawford. Even at a higher weight, Crawford's quickness, especially in combination punching, could give him an edge over a bulked-up Canelo. Ring generalship, toss-up. Canelo is an expert stalker, unyielding in his approach, while Crawford excels at creating angles and shifting tactics mid-fight. Toughness, advantage Canelo. His wars with GGG showed his insane chin, as he absorbed bombs from one of the hardest punchers in boxing history and kept coming forward. While Crawford's skills are undeniable, Canelo's experience and size make this an uphill battle for the smaller man. While both fighters stand at the same height of 5'8", unless Crawford finds a way to neutralize Canelo's power and bodywork, the edge tilts towards Canelo. A competitive fight, for sure, but the size and strength advantage can't be ignored. All things considered, unless Canelo ages overnight, this fight would go his way. Whether it's via decision or knockout, the outcome favors Canelo, and no, it doesn't even require biased judging to make it happen. While it's undeniably a massive payday, Abel Sanchez didn't hold back when calling the idea of Crawford versus Canelo ridiculous. Sanchez, who has trained notable fighters like Murad Gassiev and Joe Joyce, was respectful towards both men, but made it clear he believes the weight disparity between the 154-pound Crawford and the 168-pound Canelo is just too much for the smaller fighter to overcome. He emphasized that Canelo's size and raw power give the Mexican superstar a decisive edge. "It's a ridiculous fight," Sanchez said bluntly. According to Sanchez, Crawford remains essentially the same fighter he was when he dominated at lightweight, super lightweight, and welterweight, even now as he competes under super welterweight. Meanwhile, Canelo has consistently evolved with every move up in weight, adding new dimensions to his game. Now, I've said it before, Crawford is a great fighter, but he's been the same fighter from 135 to 147. He hasn't adapted or added anything new to make him a real threat in the higher weights, Sanchez explained. But Canelo has. Sanchez didn't stop there, pointing to the contrasting ways the two have been winning. Crawford hasn't been destroying his opponents. Sure, he dominated one guy who was a shadow of his former self, but Canelo, he's been destroying everyone in front of him. Absolutely destroying them. Crawford isn't doing that. He summed it up with a stinging remark. Yes, it's a good money fight, but it's not a real fight. In contrast, many Crawford and casual boxing fans give Crawford a bigger chance at victory than Abel Sanchez does. For now, the clash remains hypothetical. Canelo is reportedly eyeing a mandatory defense against Cuban boxer William Saul, a challenger widely regarded as a heavy underdog. Even Eddie Hearn has suggested that if Canelo and Crawford were to face off, it would only make sense to schedule it for September, likely under the bright lights of Las Vegas. Money or not, Sanchez's skepticism highlights the fundamental question: can Crawford make up for the size and power gap, or is this fight more spectacle than sport? For now, the boxing world waits with bated breath. A signed contract would send shockwaves through the sport, as no other fight on the horizon comes close to matching the magnitude of Canelo versus Crawford. If this dream bout becomes a reality, one question looms large: who will emerge victorious, and how will this fight shape their legacies? Let us know your take in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out the video on your screen for more on this epic rivalry. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, fight fans,